Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 469. 469. My name is Leonard Brackett. I'm your host, and I'll be your temporary chairman for tonight. Hopefully, the chairman will be available, and then I'll turn the show over to him. If not, then I'll just keep going until we have completed the full program for the night. I don't see any of our other panelists in the background as yet either. So, as we normally do, we start our program with a short prayer and then a biblical scripture reading, after which we then get into the program itself. So, for right now, I'll just go ahead and I will offer a short word of prayer. I'll close my eyes. Divine loving Father, we come before thy presence once more, asking that thou would continue to have mercy upon us, that thou would continue to guide and protect us, that thou would bless our family members, friends, and loved ones wherever they are, as if they were each mentioned by name and number. We pray that thou must bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership. We also pray that thou must bless this country and its people and leadership as well, and that thou would bless the rest of humanity, especially those people who are in war zones, who are losing their lives, limbs, and liberties and freedoms. We pray that thou must bless the rest of humanity, those who are in earthquake areas, tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, and all manner of pestilence on the face of this earth, loving Father. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much for allowing us to indulge in that particular endeavor. Uh, I'll take a short reading from the book of, let me see right here quickly. I want to read the Psalms. I'll go to, let's see, go one more page over, let's see what we'll find there. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and we'll read verses 7 forward. It reads as follows. It says, Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Vanity and vexation, uh, vanity and vanities, saith the preacher. All is vanity. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many proverbs. And we're reading this from the Songs of Solomon. And this same preacher that is being spoken about there at the time, that gave a lot of wise wisdom, uh, we also know was the author of the Book of Solomon, Ecclesiastes, and Proverbs. And that's what we're reading for tonight. Um, I don't see any of our panelists in the background yet, so I'll just. Before I proceed, uh, let me ask that you bear with me for a second, for a minute or so I could launch the other part of our program, put it live for the rest of the viewers who might want to, who are looking forward to seeing it tonight. Let me just. mm, Okay, okay, so I need one more thing here quickly. Okay, stop. And then I need quickly here. So let me see. Just a second, please. 69469. Okay, so I'll just leave the rest of this for right now. There's Monday. Monday. Just a second. Monday, 3rd of August. Okay. Save done. Save. And I think we have enabled our other viewers to have the opportunity to go along this journey with us today. And our journey for today will be based, at least for right now, it will be based on a commentary that was made back in May 11th of 2020. So we're going back some 6 years or so. But the same reason why this particular item was dealt with back then is why we're going to have to deal with it or need to deal with it tonight as a prescient matter. I started by saying the following comments by Leonard Brackett was a response to a rebuttal questions from Mr. Laurentia Bull. Just a second. Open bracket. I went on to say Mr. Brackett. No. I think it was Mr. Bull. I said, Mr. Laurentia Bull. I opened bracket and said, Mr. Brackett, you think so or you know so? Please explain, sir, was his comment in regards to a statement that I had stipulated from a previous question that was being discussed. In regards to a previous comment that I made without the coalesce, which I had said in quotation, without the coalescing of third parties and a couple of years of the needed hard work, Belize will continue to have government led by the two mass parties, UDP and PUP. That is my observation back then. It was my observation prior to making that particular statement or writing this particular commentary as a response to Mr. Laurentius' Bull um, query or question to me. And it is still my perspective or vantage point that that same matter is still prescient today in regards to where we came from to where we are today and in the near future where we're heading. That is that it appears that while there are quite a few ambitious people interested in getting rid of the present PUP government and keep at bay the past UDP government, those who attempt to put together a possible winning team to rescue our government have not been successful. And therefore, that prescient statement that I did make to Mr. Bull back then continues to be as it was back then, still is today. And as I intimated a little earlier, appears to be what's going to continue happening in the near future, because those who would like to replace these two mass parties have not found it possible for them to create a third mass party to be a significant contender or competitor in order for them to achieve the objective of winning 16 seats in the Belize House of Representatives, which is what's required to then be able to constitute a change of government or a new government or a different government than what any of these two present mass parties have, have brought and are still bringing to the table. I will read that last part of the statement. In regards to a previous comment that I made, open bracket, stating that without the coalescing of third parties and a couple years of the needed hard work, Belize will continue to have government led by the two mass parties, that is to say, the UDP and the PUP. And as a matter of fact, we have not had a true coalition of any of the third parties wanting to work effectively and successfully with each other to lay down the foundation for such an occurrence to come about. And as I indicated in that last statement to them as well, or to Mr. Laurentia as well, um, in addition to putting together any third party or the coalescing of all the elements of the third party and independence, which is what it would take to overcome any of these existing two mass parties, they will still need some hard groundwork because the mass party brings that to the table. They're in constant organizational, you know, um, uh, mood, you know, preparing themselves for the next election. As soon as one election is finished, they're ready to roll to prepare themselves for the next one. And that's how the mass party operates. That's why we call them a mass party, because they have all the elements that is required to sustain that period of time between elections. Whereas the past um, what should we call the past third party elements have not coalesced together successfully enough to be able to achieve that objective. And they keep battling with each other for whatever votes is left. Now, if they were to coalesce with one of the existing mass parties, such as the PUP, then that would probably put some more strength in the backbone of the PUP. Or if they were to coalesce with the UDP, then they would put some more strength in the UDP. But by themselves, it will take them a couple of years of serious hard work, serious commitment. So I went on to say, the original commentary was written by Abdul Masjid Nunes and posted on a Facebook thread with a caption, post corona, that is to say, the coronavirus had been inflicting Belize for a period of time. Post-mortem corona. In respect of Belize governance powers and BPF prospects. That is, the Belize Progressive Front was operating as if they wanted to replace one of the two mass parties, but they did not have what it would take. They had not had the experience, they had not had the economic backing, they had not had the political expertise necessary, they had not done the groundwork, and they were unwilling at that time to coalesce with any of the other third party elements in order to strengthen themselves and other or each other. And I, having been one of the founders of the United Democratic Party, having done participated in such an endeavor, I knew what it took for us to have been able to have created the United Democratic Party. So I wasn't talking as someone who was just running off a pair of lip on their face without any basis or knowledge or understanding about what I was speaking to or speaking about. But anyhow, let me go on with the rest of the writing now. Indicating that Mr. Abdul Marin Nunes is with Nefertari, Nancy Marin, and two others. The following was my response to Mr. Bull, and I went on to say to Mr. Bull, Mr. Lawrence Bull, my dear esteemed, learned patriot brother and political aspirant and vanguard of Belize, I said, open quotation, if you know me or know anything about me, you would not question anything that I say, nor ask me, nor ask me to explain my commentaries. I do not speak on issues just because I have a pair of lips on my face, sir, but rather I speak on the basis of my 55 years political activity trajectory as of that point in time back in 2020. Today date now being 2026. So we'd have to add, in addition to that 55 years, we'd have to add another 6 years to that as a context and as a chronological update to what is it that we were talking about back then. Um, 50, with 55 years then, which is now 60 odd years now, political activity trajectory on behalf of our country Belize, formerly British Honduras, it is my expectation and moral and ethical responsibility that when I speak, anyone should be able to take my utterances to the bank of public communications credibility. Close quotation. I opened bracket and went on further to conclude, if need be, for a proper validation or exchange. That is that I add that to my previous commentary in terms of what is it that I bring to the table in regards to what my capacity, capability, or experience or political trajectory had been. I followed up uh, I followed up with a series of paragraphs for further clarity, and I said, let me push this up a little bit so I can gain a little bit. Okay. I started with paragraph 1 by saying, I am Leonard A. Brackett, the person who instigated the creation of what became the United Democratic Party. Three and a half parties or factions that were amalgamated in 1973. I was a political expert and speaker of truth to power back then, and I am not any less so today. I open up on another paragraph, paragraph 2, by saying, I was one of the three people who composed the original constitution of the United Democratic Party. The greatly esteemed, honorable, and venerable patriot Mr. Philip S.W. Golson was the lead author of that constitution, and the esteemed, venerable patriot Miss Emma Boyton was Mr. Golson's primary assistant. So all three of us worked together to create what then became the first United Democratic Party constitution, which was put into practice on the I think it was 27th or 29th of September of 1973, a few months after we had signed the documents to uh, coalesce the different factions from the Unity Congress into the UDP as a final political entity. It was a coalition. It was an amalgamation of 3.5 separate entities. I went on to add another paragraph, which then I numbered as paragraph number 3, by saying, I helped to create and operate the United Democratic Party and invested time and effort and sweat and blood and tears and financials, as well as knowledge, resources, as well as family neglect for the greater cause of our country. I went on to a fourth paragraph to intimate by saying, I served the United Democratic Party in more than 20 positions over the years, some not even known by the leaders, much less by general membership, for strategic and tactical and national security reasons. I further added an additional paragraph by saying, I am the bearer of the mantle of the National Independence Party, NIP, faction of the United Democratic Party, to which some UDP leaders are oblivious, vested on me by venerable patriot, honorable former leader, Mr. Philip S.W. Golson, before his death. I also added another paragraph as further commentary, paragraph 6. I went on to say, I am the keeper of the profile archives for all political exposed persons, PEP, in Belize. That is to say, PUP, UDP, and all other Ps, including independent candidates. I am the keeper of the profile archives for all political exposed persons in Belize, formerly British Honduras, from 1965 to present. I went on to add another paragraph, which I then numbered as paragraph 7, by saying, I have been conducting an ongoing national survey of Belize, formerly British Honduras, from 1971 to present, that has always informed and enabled me to be highly sensitized to the general public sentiment. And I followed up that paragraph 7 by adding paragraph 8, which went on to say, I have been preemptively uh, predicting results for general elections to the House of Representatives, sometimes years ahead of schedule, from 1969 to present, with with approximate 90% accuracy to date, as per the records based on my written predictions. I invite you to research my Facebook page. I said to Mr. Um, Bull, Lorenzo Bull, my friend, I invite you to research my Facebook page for more information. See a post on February 16th of 2020 at 9:31 p.m. of earlier Brackett uh, sh- shared a memory from 1 year before, and see memos to PM Barrow from earlier Brackett, as well as other writings, documents. Stay safe, my brother. God bless, was my conclusion to my dear friend, Mr. Lorenzo Bull, in regards to the discussions we were having on those particular matters of the day back in 2020. Uh, Another friend of mine's, uh, Mr. Francisco C. Escobar, who is a um, political aspirant as well, from the National Reform Party. That was one of the other third party elements that we were hoping would coalesce. And he went on to say to me, Mr. Leonard Brackett, with your 97% predictions and your many decades of putting political parties together, and you reading almost every third party's post, and like I seeing the different postings, the third party leader fit in. Tweet went on to put triple dot there for cutting out what he was saying there to start with something new, and he said, Belize can have the best government made by the United by uniting third party members and joining all Belizeans together instead of supporting instead of separating the citizens. He went on a little further to say, and all can receive equal shares, todos, he said in bracket, all citizens of Belize to support this new political unity and under God vision, because man or man-made vision is unfair. Please help our Belize to elect the leadership that will grow our own economy and will heavily invest on all our Belizean citizens, todos, todos gentes. He was saying, referring to all the people of Belize, not just some. My dear esteemed friend, Mr. Joaquin Magana, also made a commentary in that regards. He said, my respectable and honorable friend, it is few people who know your political trajectory in Belize. In addition, they are not acquainted with your constitution, with your contribution, I'm sorry, to our political history. You are a man in every sense of the word, a man of great integrity and upright before the eyes of God. My respect and admiration to you, sir. Uh, I replied to my dear friend Mr. Joaquin Magana by saying to him, Don Joaquin Magana Sr., my dear esteemed learned icon, patriot, humanitarian brother, and venerable vanguard of Belize, as well as servant of God, I am glad to have been given the privilege to serve my God and serve my country of Belize and be my brother's keepers. God knows my heart, my secrets, my secret thoughts, and the contriteness of my soul. To God be the glory. May God continue to guide and protect and bless you and family always. Stay safe. And that was the closing of that particular interaction at that time, back in May 11th of 2020. We're still dealing with the same issues as I previously stated today, as I'm now speaking or reading on this matter in a historical sense, since it was so long ago, and realizing and recognizing that we're not one step further along the path for any success to such an endeavor. Why? That was a prediction back then, that we have lived long enough now to look back in hindsight and realize how prescient it was, because we're still here right now dealing with exactly what I had predicted was going to be happening back then, that we will not be able to have anything other than the two mass parties, the UDP and the PUP, to fill the gap, because none of the other elements were willing to coalesce with each other. They all wanted to be the leaders before they end up having an organization of followers. And if you start with the wrong premise, you will always end up with the wrong outcome. But they could not see that then. And I'm afraid that as of today's date, they may still not be able to see it yet, 6 years later. And I don't know how many years more it's going to take for them to recognize that unless they get their act together, their hopes and aspirations will not come to fruition. I see our chairman for the night uh, joining us already. And uh, I'd just like to say to those of you whom I was speaking with on this particular topic, that tonight is not my chairmanship time. My time is usually on Friday, and the chairman is available now, and I've already used up quite a bit of his time. So my responsibility is to yield to the chairman. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome,
I
sir.
want to say good night to you, the people at home and abroad. And I want to thank you for tuning in to this 469th edition of Belizean Affairs. Tonight, people at home and abroad, this presentation has a lot of meaning. I want to start first by saying this to you, the public. The BTL deal has went through. That's the first thing I want to say. And I also want to say that just recently we heard that the Ashcroft regime has purchased the shares from the Bracenios family. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I believe that when this first came about, when it was broken by Channel 7, and all the protests and all of that went through, the Prime Minister was in denial. And we know he had a lot to do with it. But as I just mentioned, the understanding, I believe, is that the Ashcroft regime bought out the shares from the Bracino family. To me, I think this was done to make it sure and tell that the Prime Minister has no dealings with it because his family had sold it to Ashcroft. But then when you look at it, it seems even though the Prime Minister mentioned about Ashcroft can take his money and go anywhere, he's always in it because now with BTL taking over Smart, who has to gain more from that? I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity to sit here tonight with you on your show and parse some of these treacherous undertakings by these people. In the first instance, I would like to say that you mentioned earlier that the Prime Minister may have been in denial. I share a different perspective, and I would like for you to allow me to say why I do and what is the basis of my perspective. That is that I don't think the gentleman was in any denial. He was pretending to be in denial. It was a pretext of his to pretend that he had nothing to do with the process other than the fact that he appoints the board members and haul and pull them when he wants to his own heart content. Not to say the least that those board members are not there representing the Prime Minister, they are there representing the Belizean people, whose share is the majority in that company. Therefore, when the chairman of that board get up and say that they don't have to give no account to the public, he was besides. Uh, um, I need to be careful how I word and what I say because I can't allow my outrage, to. Let me back up a little bit. Okay. The chairman, Mr. Lizaraga, he is vested with authority to act as a fiduciary individual on behalf of the people of Belize, not on behalf of the minority shareholders over the rights and the powers and the privilege or responsibility that he has to the majority shareholders, who are the people of Belize. We bought those shares, we bought the company, we financed it, we did everything that we had to do in order to maintain majority shareholding in that company. And for that jackal to get up and tell us to our face that he don't have to give no account to us, he should have been kicked off that board long time ago. But he was put there to do a job. And that job was to facilitate the Prime Minister having his way with the public purse. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. How his family members would have cashed in on their shares from the smart company, which they were trying to get us as the Belizean public and our company to buy them out because they are not willing to put no extra money into that whole company to compete with Starlinks and all the other companies and entities. They did not wish to put any more money into that competitive process to go up against modern technologies. So what they wanted to do was to cash out, and there was no other else for them to cash out with who would buy their junk. So the Prime Minister used his position and the leverage he have over these board members on these public boards to have them buy his family's asset and Mr. Ashcroft's asset. Every turn you make, Mr. Ashcroft is in our business, squeezing every nickel and dime out of our Belizean hide. And the Prime Minister is going to play the fool like he doesn't know what the hell is going on when he is the orchestrator in chief. He's going to come now and have these guys go into their board meeting and make a decision that favors their agenda, and to hell with us, the public who owns that stuff. That's a mobster mentality. For them to behave like that and to pull, despite the fact that the public in general was against them doing that they're going to go behind walls and go ahead and do what we said that we didn't want to have happen, so that they can cash out. And now he's trying to cash out on the BEL again. Have us, the public, pump additional millions and millions of dollars to facilitate them being able to have BEL give them some revenues. At every step of the way, these guys are taking us for fool and taking advantage of us while hiding behind the powers of governance. They need to go to jail. How we're going to get them there, I don't know. I yield back, Mr. Chairman, for right now, so I have a lot more to say about this particular issue.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. But what we see happening here is outright bastardization of the Belize Constitution. The Telecommunication Act is enshrined in the Constitution. And the only way to overcome what they want to do is to go to the House and amend the Act, because regulation cannot trump the Parent Act. And this is what they has all along been saying. They will use a regulation to trump the Parent Act. It is impossible. Any legal minds out there that knows the Constitution knows it cannot happen. Let's go to a tape to hear what he had to say.
Sir, can you talk about this rumored sale of Smart to BTL? Is that the rumored sale of Smart to BTL, is that going through?
I don't know. You'll have to talk to people at BTL and the people at Smart.
You are the supermajority of the, or you appoint, sorry, the supermajority of the board, and your family owns Smart. If this sale were to go through, wouldn't it be a conflict of interest?
I wish it to be my family owns Smart. But those things are discussed at the management level, and then it goes to the board. I can assure you that if something were to happen, it has to be in the interest of BTL and the interest of the Belizean people.
So do you expect to get consultation from the public for something like that?
No, I don't think why. It is a private sector. Remember when you used to ask those questions to Mr. Barrow? What was Mr. Barrow's answer? It is a private company. It is a private company. Once they can show that it is something that is financially feasible for them, it's up to them.
Mr. Chairman, this guy is coming to us with a straight face.
Did you hear that? It's a private company. So the public part is taken out completely, and the private companies run it. If it's a private company, why do they need the support of the Belizean people to do this takeover? It is obvious that the Prime Minister hands are involved in it. So he's not fooling no one. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How can this idiot of a person representing such a high office pretend that he doesn't know that he, as the Prime Minister of our country, and the person who appoints those majority board holders, As a matter of fact, I think there's only one board member in that board that belongs to any private group, the small minority shareholders them. All the other board members are appointed by him and are accountable to him for public funds that we, the public, and the people of the country have invested in that structure. We bought it, we controlled it. The fact that they sold some shares, a few little shares to some private individual, don't mean that those private individuals own it. Is that what this idiot is trying to stipulate to us, to tell us that the people that are private own and control it, and therefore they have a right to do private underhand deals because it's their private affairs? Does this idiot doesn't realize that us out here as human beings are not as dotish as he's trying to make us be, all because we can't grab his ass and put him in jail? He's telling us barefacedly what he knows is not the truth, and for us to accept what he's saying as being the truth. As if he doesn't know. In fact, almost everything that has gone wrong with with our country so far, the man has a disclaimer to it. He didn't know, he don't know, he was not involved. He's telling them to go, as regards to this particular issue that we're talking about right now, he's telling the reporters them, go and ask the private people them, because he is the person that is leading our country. He is the Minister of Finance. He's not only Prime Minister, he's Minister of Finance. Nothing happens with any funds that relates to the consolidated funds of our country and the Social Security Board funds. He appoints the Social Security Board members them, and he tells them what to do and not to do. So the fact that he's trying to benefit his own family through the board members them, who are going ahead and committing a crime against the society at large, it means that these guys are running our country like a bunch of mobsters. Then when you tell them exactly what they're doing wrong, they want to get hot under the collar and pretend that they must be more upset than us, the people who they are taking advantage of. I yield back, Mr. Chairman, before I get myself, before I start disrespecting the show, disrespecting
Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
anybody else.
Now, I
These
want
things
to
need
go
be
to a
dealt with
tape.
one way or another.
I want to go to a tape to show what all is happening in Belize, because the conversation is out there, and we can see where now they're even trying to go after social media to prevent certain groups of people from having discussion about what is happening. Let's go to the tape.
I think some people are going with just the conflict of interest audit. We're not just doing the conflict of interest, the alleged conflict of interest. We are focusing on 3 lines of inquiry, which is how the bidding process happened, the purchasing situation, as you all have displayed those short payments that have been occurring, and as well, we're looking at the management of stores. So it's a big audit. But we plan to complete it and ensure that we submit valuable information regarding what happened at the Ministry of Defense.
Would imagine this audit may require you and your team to ask a lot of questions of a lot of people.
Yes. It's part of the audit process. We meet with different persons, we meet with different stakeholders, key players in all this process. The list is getting big.
In terms of the Prime Minister's request to take the audit back to 2015, what are we looking at from that aspect?
I did receive a request from the Financial Secretary, and I responded saying that I do not have a problem going back 15, 16, but our priority is our ongoing audit at this point. So that audit can come after we completed this portion of the audit, which what I explained to you, the bidding, the purchasing, and the management of stores. for more recent years.
No, Mr. Brackett, we are in an audit. But I want to say this: if you listen to what the young lady is saying and what has been said by different ministers, it is my belief that this audit will have no effect on what had happened. I go to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In the first place, the Prime Minister stepped out of bounds in public again, as is his pattern of misbehaving. As in regards to the Budna matter, he stepped out of bounds and requested that the reports should have been turned over to him, for him and cabinet to go through and figure out what next to do. Only after we bust his butt, embarrassed him enough times in public, that he somehow or another accepted the premise that he was not supposed to have been involved with that report, because for legal purposes, the chain of custody of that report should not have gone to someone who is suspected of being one of the primary movers and shakers of the government's power to suborn that report to the point where, after two reports, I think it was either 2 or 3 reports that was done, that the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, to who that report should have gone to in the first instance, only after the Prime Minister had access to that report and they had did what they wanted to do and gave to the DPP a file with, as the DPP declared, was less than nothing. What the hell do we expect now to happen? If this idiot goes ahead and pressure this lady, who is an independent constitutional officer, for her to turn over that report to him and his cabinet again, for us to end up with the same kind of outcome or results as in the Budna matter, that file should be going to the DPP. It should go first to the Assembly and a copy submitted to the DPP for any potential criminal referral or action. What goes to the House as a normal process or procedure is the annual report or the annual audit, not the special audit that is being done to try and figure out criminal activities on the part of ministers in the various departments that is the allegations are being made against, including the financial department. Because we also now know that the financial, not the financial secretary, the cabinet secretary himself was listed as one of those who are gaming the system criminally. When he spoke to the matter, he said he had nothing to do with it. And in bits and pieces of the information that we gathered so far shows that not only did he have a lot to do with it, the name of the company carries his initial. He is a board member on the company, and he is one of the main beneficiary of that company. What the hell is wrong with these guys? That's treason. When you're going to take away funds and resources and marginalize our defense department to where people aren't getting enough food, military equipment, supplies, proper clothing, and all kind of stuff, and then they are complaining about they're not just right, they don't have the right kind of boots, they don't have the car, they don't have enough bullets for practice targeting, much less for any repelling of any potential invasion that we might have from an existing bellicose neighbor. under this Belize Guatemala issue. It's tantamount to treason when these guys are going to be pilfering or misappropriating and self-enriching from the resources that's supposed to go to a military department for defense. I yield back for right now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brackett. I believe it goes beyond what you are saying.
Crazy, man. It's outright crazy.
It goes beyond what you are saying, because I want you, the people at home, to listen to this tape. You, the people at home and abroad.
And so when you testified before the Joint Public Accounts Committee, you referred to an absence of source documents transactions. Is it a chronic problem, and has your team been encountering this problem so far in this audit?
In this audit, yes. I think in every audit, we will find some document missing, some document not available. But it has been a chronic issue, not only for the Ministry of Defense, for almost all the ministries that we've been. Nobody has been paying attention to records management. And we have highlighted this even for the Accountant General's Department, who should have all custody of all records, no? So, yeah, it's not a difficult situation now, because we have ways of conducting our audit and finding records, and that's why I mentioned earlier other entities that can provide us with information.
Do you think that some of these missing documents, it was intentional that they're missing, or?
I don't believe so. I think that it is a systematic issue in every ministry. We just don't care about records. Nobody expects audit to come, and when audit comes, that's when they get shocked. Oh, we need the records, So it's basically a systematic problem for the entire public service.
If you are saying that records are missing, you are telling the Belizean people that you, as a person involved, is not holding the government accountable, because you should write them, you should call them, and you should speak to them about missing documents,
The document trail.
missing folders. If you are not doing that,
Not doing
then
your job.
you are contributing to it. I go to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And well said, sir. What she's doing is, as we always say on this show, Mr. Chairman, what she's doing, telling on herself and on each other, right?
That is correct.
She's pointing her finger at the auditor, at the accountant general, who rightfully should provide her with the documents for her to be able to do her audit. But then she's trying to say, well, it's a systemic issue. It's not like one person or one group or just the mirrors or whatever. Haven't I been saying that from the very first time this issue came out to light? That if they audit just about any of the other departments, they will find out that all of them are operating under the same principles or guidance or procedures, protocols, and practices. All she's doing is affirming what I had said before, because those are the facts. It's systemic. It's not just one person or one group of people doing their own procurement process, having their own policies and procedures in place for them to operate only on their own, differently than everybody else is operating. It's a systemic issue. They're all operating on the same malignant basis. I know that some of them are caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Even the Prime Minister is stepping to the plate to try and provide cover for his ministers. You call that aiding and abetting the crime. That's committing another crime on top of the existing crime. Because then he's going to come out here and be lying through his teeth and then turn around and lie on his own self when he go back and change when he gets exposed, and then he gets embarrassed, and then he goes back and change what he was saying before to what now he's saying, and then in a few days' time, when the pressure ramp up, he won't turn around and exculpate. In order to exculpate some other people, he gonna get some of these other people involved, as we have seen happen in the Budna issue. Police officers had to submit their report and then take it back and we submit bogus report and then tell the public that's what they did. Who went to jail? Nobody. Where is the evidence or the materials that was collected in the 2 or 3 different investigations that were originally done? Why wasn't that material or information provided to the Director of Public Prosecution for her effort? And now she will have to depend on the very same police officers who had done the previous report to go back and do a different report now to provide her with enough material for her to be able to prosecute. Because she's claiming she can't prosecute without the correct stuff. By the time they finish messing around with this audit that they're trying to do now to present to the Prime Minister, everybody will be exculpated. Every potential damage records or whatever will disappear. They will end up with less than nothing in a file again. And that's the modus operandi. That's the way these people operate. They're not looking to try and catch the people who are doing malignant things in the government service. They're aiding and abetting it. They're exculpating it. The Prime Minister is telling us, for example, nothing wrong happened, but that we should wait until the report comes out so that they can prove to us that nothing wrong happened. When we damn well know with our own eyes, ears, and other senses, we have seen the documents. We know what happened. We have thousands and thousands of line entry of these records publicly available.
Mr. Brackett, well said, but I want to say this, right? Even if documents are missing or they were not missing, the outcome that would happen is, I believe, the Auditor General will specify that all monies were counted for from the purchases of items, so they didn't find anything wrong. And I'm saying this, and I will tell you why. Let me go to this tape first. Listen to it, people at home and abroad.
I sat down with the Minister of, well, sorry, with the CEO, and he explained, he says, they went 13 times to the Contractor General to ensure that they could get it right when they put in to return the bids. And he's saying he's very pleased with the cooperation from the Contractor General. She has been extremely helpful. But what happened is that when they sent these, when they sent the recommendations from the bids that were taking place, the Ministry of Finance took very long to respond. The Ministry of Finance may have their own reasons, but the point is that they were not responding, and the BDF eat every day. And so the only way that they could be able to keep up giving the food, he explained to me, is to be able to be ordering, under these $10,000 bid. Now you could question as to who are the people they're asking, and so that's another matter, but that's for the Contractor General to deal with. I'm just trying to explain why is it that they have to continue this during this time, simply to be able to keep food on the table for the BDF.
Is that not a circumvention of the procurement process or procurement regulations?
I don't think you listened to what I just said. I said what they're trying to do is to ensure that they can continue to get food on the table for the BDF whilst they get an approval for finance, from the Ministry of Finance. There's some blame to be given all around. And I think that we now have to find a more effective and efficient way in approving these things. And now that the CEO now has a pretty good grasp on what the Contractor General is expecting for her to be able to approve these contracts, I think we'll be able to move faster.
Now, Mr. Brackett and people at home and abroad, the said reason I say missing documents will not matter. The Prime Minister is saying the Contractor General told him the reason why they had to do that is because the BDF need to eat. So they had to continue to
Mr.
do
Chairman,
that.
Mr. Chairman, just a second. What he was talking about was not the contractor general in terms of telling him. He was saying that the CEO told him or tried to explain to him what was the reason for them violating the rules and
Right.
regulations.
I think he mentioned Contractor
Yeah,
General
but
in there.
not as part of that particular point or
Okay.
statement. So I
But
was just,
this
because
this
we all it's all on record. So
right.
we're just trying
But
to make sure
this
we stay
is what I
consistent.
want to say, right?
Yes, sir.
I have did accounting for many years. Many years. And the reason I want to say this because based on what the Auditor General is saying and what the Prime Minister is saying, again I'm putting it out there. If they last document, it will make no difference. At the end of the day, they will come up and say, well, you know what? There is no fault because the money came up right if they do that, and the money was used to pay for the product. But what they cannot get away to show that it was not nepotism and corruption
Or a
is,
violation of the laws.
you know what it is? When you double or triple the price of an item.
You're stealing money from the BDA, from the defense
That
department.
is what is wrong with it. So even if the Auditor General come back and say, oh, the audit was good, we didn't find no discrepancy. You cannot say that to the public because the purchase order. Some is showing where you could have purchased a product for a reasonable price
And save
where
money.
on the order they paid 3 times the amount for the same product. And that is what they will not be able to get away from. I go to you,
They want,
Mr. Brackett.
Mr. Chairman, but they won't explain that to the public. Their job is not to explain any criminal conduct or to bind any criminal effort by any of their people. They are there
And
to exculpate
but
and to hide and to play skullduggery
Mr. Brackett,
and
you are
mislead the
right.
public.
And I will tell you why you are right. As we say, they always tell on themselves.
Exactly.
How much ministers have you heard talking to the public saying that the people should not look at that? The people should sweep that under the rug and look at all the
Because
good
they are
work.
caught.
Look
Because they are
at
caught.
all the good work that the party has done. We heard Mr. Musa. Now is the time we can get it right. It has been happening before our time, and now we can get it right. They're actually asking the people to look away from that because of the good things they have done. Now imagine, that is what the government is asking the people to do. I go back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. How can the government come to us with such bold-facedness and tell us, as we have known before and had intimated on this particular show and others and other media houses and whatever, had pointed out, especially Jules Vasquez himself, who is the primary mover and shaker of all these documentations. I think the man should deserve to get another award, for his quality of, reporting and investigation. But that aside, how can the Prime Minister and all these other ministers know that are stepping to the plate and acknowledging that, yes, there are problems, but they're hoping to now get to clean up these problems only because pressure was brought on them and they have been exposed as the charlatans that they really are. They're collecting a salary to do this job and to make sure that these kind of things don't happen. What is so hard for them to do their job? And if they don't want to do the job, turn the job over to somebody else that is willing and able and wants to get the salary. Because if they're collecting a salary, they might as well give back their salary too over the years that they have been, not performing. Some of these records go back to what? 2, 3, 4 years ago. And now they're talking about, well, they are finding out that that's the case, and now they want to go and remedy. And whatever remedy they come up with can easily be treated the same way as the present rules and regulations that they're bastardizing. Any new rules can be bastardized. So they're asking us to forget about the past. Let's move forward and let's commit to a new bastardization. And until we find it out and raise some cane like we're doing now, then they're probably going to think about adjusting those yet in the future. But for right now, for peace sake, let's pretend nothing has happened and is happening. It can't work like that. The system is corrupt from top to bottom. And these guys are exculpating each other and working on behalf of each other to continue ripping off the system. It's the public money. It's not their own. And they are to be held accountable. Now look at all these high officials that are involved in this process. Me right here and get in the House of Representatives, in our general body, and make stupid statements about when he and his family come hard because it's 10 of them. So in other words, all 10 of them the rip off the system. Huh? Well, all 10 of them entitled to ripping off the system, and nothing is said or done about it. We are not supposed to be concerned.
Mr. Brackett,
there's nothing to look at. Just move on. Yeah,
Mr. Brackett, you know what I think? In honesty, the government has just opened a can of worms with all that is happening with this BDF turmoil, and now for the people to hear that the BTL deal went through.
I tell you, some of these guys need to be locked up.
It's
not like I'm being gratuitous and making irrelevant statement or just trying to say stuff, but some of them need to be locked up, I'm saying.
The BTL takeover of Smart, and we have the merest problem. I want to hear the backlash that will come from the people.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned about the BTL takeover of Smart, for example, which most of us would have believed that they wouldn't have tried to do after they didn't provide the evidence that we were able to point out to them that they didn't do due diligence and that the numbers that they were trying to run by us didn't make sense, and the equipment and things that they were talking about being able to procure through that process didn't make sense. The bottom line is that it's not just the Smart issue. That's about $80 million, okay? Of which the Brazilians was going to get like 22 million, I think, and then 63 million was going to be going to Mr. Ashcroft. The problem is what is alleged to have happened, or what the board and the BTL board apparently has agreed to and settled in terms of the procurement process, is all the other little companies that the Brazilians and other people, the chairman brother own, and all of them. It's an incestuous process. And they took it to us even while we were complaining. They went ahead and did what they want to do anyhow, and who is to stop them? That's the attitude of these jackals. Who is to stop them? As a matter of fact, they're not learning. They already done sign the documents. Everything is already a done deal.
This
Us
is
arguing,
exactly why I said the people that has monies in SSB should pick their own board members away from government, because what will happen here, this government might not win the next election
but
and
SSB is a statutory body too, Mr. Chairman.
it
SSB is a
will
statutory
live.
body under the control of the Prime Minister.
That's why we need to take it away, because if they don't win the next election, they will left Belize worse than the super bond.
That's what they're doing. That is precisely what they're doing.
Beside this BTL takeover,
There's no question
we
about
are
that.
talking about another $73 million from Social Security to put into BEL.
Yes, but before you go there, let's finish up the numbers for the thing we then said and just finish do, which is gone from $80 million to $190 million plus. Okay, because the $110 million on top of the $80 million is to buy the other little smart companies them that went along, that initially they had said they weren't going to sell because Mr. Ashcroft was upset that those companies was blocking him off from being able to have smart bot, right? So they said they wasn't going to deal with those companies anymore. How come now that all of a sudden now that they have bought the whatever they bought includes everything that was initially discussed? Besides that, do anybody have any idea how much fees and things, how much more millions in fees and other stuff that we're going to be responsible for? In addition to monies that we going to have to come up with out of our own pockets, so that BTL can make its annual payments that they were supposed to make. That means that no shareholder of BTL for the next 5 years or so will be getting any money issued to them as what they call it, forget, for the shares, because no money will be available. It will all be going to these private players.
This whole investment
Just a rip-off.
is phony baloney. And I must say this. Technology has come. Starlink is wireless. You don't have to be putting up no antenna and running no wires. And when you want to take over an obsolete company with antennas and wires and all that crap, how you think you will be able to compete with modern technology?
Can't. All they're doing right now is just fleecing us.
So, the amount of money they are putting into that takeover or had put into it, they should have invested in SmartLink, which would have been the right thing to do.
At least it would have been current in terms of technology or for the near future. These guys are just hustling here, there, and everywhere at every opportunity. All they're doing is grabbing and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. It appears to me that Belizean might not be running again for another election. So they don't care, how stink their name is.
And that is why,
because they're not coming back to us for no votes.
That is why, Mr. Chairman, I have said it on this platform.
We need to talk, Mr.
When
Chairman.
you run for political office, the term is 5 years. No government ministers or government should sign no contracts beyond their term. All these 30-year term contracts should be set aside.
With the current Auditor General. Do you think that the current Auditor General that they are asking to go and do this audit now on their malfections is going to be helpful to a true public audit to show these guys in a bad light, when in fact they gave her 30-year contract? and they're only in office for 5 years, as you said.
Exactly why
And
I
then you
am
have the
saying that.
and yes, and then you have Mr. Shabat. Is it Shabat or Mr. No, no, no. The man from
No,
Fire.
look at the National Bus
Give his son
Company.
one contract for rape for we forest for
But
30
look at the
years.
National Bus Company right there. They
They,
were complaining about the old buses, and what are they doing? They
they
took it
are,
over from the
just
private
like I said from the very
investors.
beginning, Mr. Chairman.
Huh?
From the very beginning, when I started with the nonsense, I told you guys, and I told the public what they were after. It's about capturing other people's private
Public-private
ventures,
again
but it's in this instance now
with
they're trying to,
long-term contract.
yes, but they're trying to take the public funds part of it out of our hide again through taxes to finance that venture, and some private person is going to end up with the whole of it at the end of the day, because they will run it into the ground and they will turn around and say, well, you know what, we can't support this anymore. So the Japanese, they end up to maybe reconstitute their bus company or somebody else, but they're going to end up to get the runs. By then, all the other people who had been in there before would have been, weeded out.
No, Mr. Brackett, I want to go to a tape before we close. I want to show the people at home and abroad how this government operates.
The freedom of one individual to smoke must never come at the expense of another person's health. That is the balance this legislation seeks to achieve, Mr. Speaker. Some have suggested that designated smoking areas or ventilation systems provide sufficient protection. Unfortunately, decades of scientific evidence have shown otherwise. Ventilation systems remove odors. They do not remove the toxic chemicals contained in tobacco smoke. Separate smoking rooms reduce visibility. They do not eliminate exposure. The only measure consistently shown to protect workers and the public is the creation of completely smoke-free indoor environments. That is why this bill adopts that standard.
The bill creates extensive enforcement powers. Authorized officers are empowered to inspect premises, seize products, examine records, collect samples, and conduct investigation. As the member from Orange Walk East, outlined very carefully, laws without enforcement is a mere suggestion. We agree with that. The obvious question then is, does the ministry currently possess sufficient personnel, financial resources, and technical capacity to effectively enforce these provisions?
I, of course, stand.
I want to stop it there because I want it to make sense. These are ministers of the government trying to pass this tobacco bill. Where was their voices when they were trying to pass the marijuana out in the key? Now make it make sense. Then you are trying to pass a law that will violate the Constitution when it comes to one's right, especially business like the casinos, the clubs, tourism places.
Mm-hmm.
So you will get out there and tell the tourists they can't smoke. You will penalize them. You will go in a casino and say you can't have smoking in there when that is the way these people make their money. Make it make sense for me, Mr. Brackett.
Mr. Chairman, do we recall the ASR BSI cane farmers court case over a statutory instrument that, as we always say on this program, cannot trump the Constitution? And do we remember the outcome of that case?
That is correct.
How many more cases do idiots have to go through in order for them to learn and understand that you cannot create a statutory instrument in violation of the Constitution and to have that statutory instrument override the Constitution because the Constitution is the supreme law of the land? What part of that these jackals don't understand?
They don't care though, Mr. Brackett.
Exactly.
That is why the
care.
BTL takeover is happening. And they did not take it to the House. Because if they took it to the House, they would have to meet the senators. And they don't want to meet the senators. So they are bypassing the House, trying to use a regulation from the Telecommunication Act, which oversees the regulators, which is PUC. So I want to see how it will happen.
They are in violation of that same Telecommunication Act.
That is correct, because the regulators get their powers from the Act.
They are trying to pretend,
specify what should happen.
They are trying to pretend that if the BTL was really a private company with majority shareholders being private, then from their vantage point, they would want to say that BTL then could have gone ahead and made whatever decision they make, whether or not they want to buy Smart or not. In the first place, in just acquiring Smart, BTL will have to ask the PUC, to ask the minister, substantive minister, to ask cabinet, to ask the House of Representatives to change the law before any of those things were consummated.
That is exactly what I had said.
They all know that.
They know it. And the law is enshrined. So I don't see them getting around it.
They're playing fast and loose with the laws and the system.
You cannot trump the Peering Act. You can write something close to it, but you cannot trump it.
All of that has to be done before this BTL stuff gets consummated. And even when it gets consummated, it is still unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional.
That is why Section 20 of the Constitution takes effect.
And
because I can almost guarantee you, if they are taken to court, they will rule against it. I go to you for your comment and closing, Mr. Brackett. We are at that time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My comment in closing is that I don't expect these bunch of jackals that we have in leadership position in our country to somehow overnight become saints and or become honorable. Because as far as they are concerned, once they won the election and went to the Governor General for ascension and swore their oath of allegiance and service, and was granted the powers of these different ministries and prime ministership, it appears to me that they have the impression now that the country is supposed to be run not as a constitutional democracy, as a law, as a law-abiding country that follows the laws, but rather they as individual ministers should have, according to what they put in this revised constitution that they want to promote, the powers to act like they are dictators in each of their own little fiefdom. And they want to be able to exculpate themselves or have themselves exculpated, and the prime minister to run roughshod over the judiciary, because he is supposed to then account to them in the new paradigm. If they were successful, he would then decide what is law and what is not law, what is legal, lawful, or constitutional. That will come from him, because he would have inherited the powers of the head of state with the authority vested in him to declare just about anything out of his mind to be the law of the day. And no judge or any part of the judiciary, as a part of the three branches of the government, would have any means of being able to tell them that they're acting outside of the law or unlawful, because he will determine what is lawful and not lawful. Besides that, the issue of the House of Representatives, he controls the House of Representatives by being the majority leader in the House. So for all intents and purposes, he actually currently controls two of the three branches of government, and he's trying to take possession of the third. And it seemed to me like they're succeeding in gaining that control, because the judiciary is now being compromised and contaminated with judges who are ruling according to government expectations. They're not ruling according to law. They're not ruling according to the Constitution. They're not ruling according to
But
stare decisis or settled law.
it's a proven fact, sir. When they do that and they go to the CCJ, they
They
are
get
backs
overruled.
down.
Yeah,
They are backs down,
that has been our experience so far. But
right?
most of the time, a lot of damage is done before anybody gets a chance to successfully go up to those higher levels. In the meantime, they have the local high court judges them and the magistrates them being intimidated by these bogus laws that they are creating and pretending that they are constitutional, and these judges have to rule according to those bogus laws.
Right.
We are in a pickle, sir.
Well, thank you for your comments, sir. I
You're welcome,
want
Mr.
to thank
Chairman.
you, the people who are tuning in to this 469th edition of Belizean Affairs. Hoping that you will be back here on Wednesday night and also on Friday as we present other episodes of Belizean Affair. I hope tonight's show will enlighten you and you will learn something from it, or you will have open discussion about what is happening in Belize. With that said, I would like to say good night to you, the people at home and abroad.